Have you ever wanted to take a thrifted picture frame and turn it into a loom that you can weave into? Today I'm going to show you how. For this project, you're going to need a solid wood frame, preferably from the thrift store, a hammer, a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, wire nails, and I use 19 by 1/2. I look for the B in the upper left corner, 8 by 4 poly cotton warp thread, a tape measure, an index card, and a pencil. Optionally, you may want to get Goo Gone and spray paint if you want to change the color of your frame. All right, so first things first, we need to take all the backing off of the frame to get it stripped down. And first, I'm going to have to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the hanging hardware. Now the fun part, you get to just rip it apart. Now it's a little up to you how clean you get this. I like to get all the paper off so that I can spray paint it. And because I sell my weavings, I like to have it as perfect as I can get it. But if this is just going to be in your own home, you do what you feel is best. So I would Goo Gone all of this and get all of that off. But we also need to get these little brads up. So I'm going to pop these out. I'm going to go through with my needle nose pliers, give them a good twist. Got the cardboard, the painting, all out. Always a fun thing to hold on to for mixed media project, or if you find one that has like a landscape, you can turn it into a holiday scene. And then we're going to take the glass out, just be really careful with that. And you've got a frame ready for weaving. So at this point, it's up to you. If you paint it, I usually paint mine black if I'm going to paint them, or I leave them natural brown, but I'll probably paint this one. Okay, so to make our jig, we're going to use an index card and mark every 1/2 inch along the edge. Then we're going to cut up into the index card just a little ways, maybe 3/4 of an inch at each of those marks. Also, I like to go back in and right beside it, pull out a little sliver, just room enough for your nails to slide in there. Then you can just tear off each of those little slivers that you cut out. So one of the things you want to think about is how you want your finished tapestry to hang on the wall. This one's a vertical tapestry, so I ran my warps vertically and I put my nails across the top and the bottom, because we usually weave horizontally. But if you want a horizontal finished tapestry, then you put your nails here so that once you weave, it orients horizontally. Today I'm going to be making a sister piece to this one, so I'll be warping so that the final tapestry is vertical. So I'm going to use my jig, and there's two places on most frames. You have this inner well, and then you have the outer edge. And we're going to want to nail into this outer edge. That allows our nails to have a little bit more depth to go into, so they can be a little bit more solid. And also this creates a nice little lip. I'll show you on mine. It creates a nice little lip right here to hide the beginnings and edges of your weaving. The other thing is we want to start slightly outside. You're going to weave a little bit, not to here, but you want to weave all the way to this edge. And that's so that your edges are hidden a little. I guess it's really up to you. You could actually stop here and let a little bit of wall show so that when you weave, it really looks like a weaving that has been framed. But if you want it to fill up the whole frame, then you're going to want to come all the way to the outside over here. And I don't like getting too close to the edge. We want to bring it down a little bit so that the nails have something to grip into. And I'm going to take a straight edge and create that line so I am consistent across the whole thing. So we're going to place our jig right on the edge, this upper edge, and the first opening lining up with the edge of our frame. This will actually be the second, where the second nail is placed. I'll show you. Once you get the first line done, we're going to scooch it over one. You go back and put one more dot outside of the frame. Once you get that row done, you can just scoot your whole little jig over, line it up with the edge up here, line it up. So you see your last dot in that first slice, and then come on across. And then here's the last one. I'm going to put one more out here. It's not the same distance out as the other side. This isn't quite the same, but that's okay. As long as we start on this side up here and work our way across, these will be lining up. And that's the most important thing, that these line up with their corresponding dot on the other side. Start here and work that way, so that this was my starting side on that end. This will be my starting side on this end, and my dots will line up. Now for the fun part. So I find the key here is to put your nail in about a ½ inch up into your needle nose pliers, so that it's a little bit thicker, and then this can act as a stop for how far to hammer it in. Disclaimer, I am a terrible, terrible carpenter. I'm horrible at hammering. My nails will all be crooked. It will be very wonky. As long as they're lined up with the other end, it really doesn't matter what your nail is looking like. It's going to get bent over in the end anyway, so sometimes they look like that, and it's okay. You also want to make sure that they're up high enough so that later, when we're finished warping and weaving and it's completely done, the way you finish this piece is you hammer the nails back over away from the warp to lock it all in. So you want enough of a stem there that you can bend the nail. If it's too flush, then you're not going to be able to get that curve. Whew. Now we've got a finished frame that's ready to be warped. I'm warping this frame with an 8/4 polycotton warp thread, and I start with a slip knot that I put around the top left nail. Tighten it up, and then I run the warp down to the left side of the first nail, under, and then back up the right side of the second nail. And we're going to match that right up at the top. We go to the left side of the second nail, across to the third nail, and come back down the right side of that nail, and then back to the bottom third nail. And we're going to continue that pattern where we're not going straight back up from the nail, but always going over one from left to right as we go. You want to try to keep some tension on the warp at all times. We want it taut, but not too tight. Your warp will actually tighten as you weave, so you want to leave a little bit of give as you warp. And the most important thing is that the tension is even across all the warps. And as I get to the last nail, I'll cut the warp and wrap the thread around the last nail to hold it for me. And then I like to run my hands across the warps to check that they're evenly tensioned. The outer warp strings are a little hard to feel the tension in because they're laid against the frame, but you just kind of do the best you can. And all the other ones should be pretty even. Then I put my finger here to keep tension as I make a knot around the nail head. Then I go around it again. And because I'm overly cautious, I go around the warp next to it and knot it there too. making sure it's nice and tight, and I'm ready to weave. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Soon I'll have a video on tips for weaving in the frame and another one for how to finish it off. If you're watching in the future, I'll link those next videos here and below in the description. But have fun weaving and share what you're working on in the comments.